Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Our psalm today is Psalm 149, and it's a very challenging psalm. That's why I'm here with a marker board behind me. I want to try to diagram a couple things. So Psalm 149, praise the Lord. Sing to the Lord a new song, His praise in the assembly of the godly. Let Israel be glad in His Maker, and the children of Zion rejoice in their King. Let them praise His name with dancing, making melody to Him with tambourine and lyre. For the Lord takes pleasure in His people. He adorns the humble with salvation. Let the godly exult in glory. Let them sing for joy on their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their throats, and two-edged swords in their hands, to execute vengeance on the nations and punishments on the peoples, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute on them the judgment written. This is honor for all His godly ones. Praise the Lord. Now, the first half of this psalm starts out like we would expect, praising the Lord and for His goodness, His faithfulness. The Lord is our Maker. But then we get to the middle of the psalm, and it just really throws us. Listen again to verse 6. Let the high praises of God be in their throats, all good so far, and two-edged swords in their hands. What? That we're supposed to be praising the Lord from the depths of our soul with our full voice, and then have double-edged swords in our hands while we're praising? What are these double-edged swords for? Verse 7, to execute vengeance on the nations and punishments on the peoples, to bind their kings with chains, their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute on them the judgment that is written. This is honor for all His godly ones. Praise the Lord. Now, we need to understand this psalm in context. We need to think about what's referred to as eschatology, kind of a vision of history. In the Old Testament, they understood it this way, that they lived in this old age of oppression, of sin and death. And their hope was, the good news was, that God's going to bring an end to this old age, that God is going to bring about the day of the Lord, and what that day would include would be the year of the Lord's favor, a new day, a new time of God's blessings, and God's releasing Israel from debt, and just blessing them. His glory would be upon them. And with that, it would also be the vengeance of our God. That God is going to bring about this day in which there's absolute justice on the face of the earth. And so not only will it be the year of the Lord's favor on all those who worship the Lord, but all those who have been engaged in oppression across the centuries, it'll be God's vengeance upon them. Justice will actually be established on the face of the earth. All the oppressors will be held to account. Isaiah 61 has this language where Isaiah is saying, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's speaking, we think, in terms of the servant of the Lord, the Messiah, that the Lord will bring about the year of the Lord's favor and the vengeance of our God upon all those oppressors. The people of Israel knew oppression well. Egypt, in bondage, slavery, under Pharaoh. The Assyrians destroyed the northern kingdom and oppressed the southern kingdom as well. Babylon destroyed the southern kingdom and much oppression. Jerusalem destroyed. The Persians brought a little bit of relief, but still oppressive. And then we get the Greeks and their oppression, and just generation after generation dealing with oppressive peoples and kingdoms. And so the vision is that God's going to bring about a day when the people of God will experience God's favor, and they'll be exalted, and they'll be healed and lifted up, and it'll be this new day of life. And it'll also be a day of judgment. And God will actually honor those who have trusted in Him and believed in Him, and they will get to participate in carrying out the vengeance of God upon all these oppressors across the centuries. Now, what do we do with this? Because I don't think this is exactly what Jesus taught us to do, to worship Him and then to, have double-edged swords in our hands. How does this fit with the teachings of Jesus? Well, eschatology changes a little bit with Jesus. And so let me adjust the board here a little bit. When Jesus When Jesus reads Isaiah 61 in Luke chapter 4, Jesus announces that the Spirit of the Lord is upon him to proclaim good news to the poor and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. But that word about the vengeance of our God, he stops there. He doesn't read that. Instead, he rolls the scroll up, sits down, and says, today this is fulfilled in your hearing. What we have happening in Jesus and throughout the New Testament is that this day of judgment gets pushed out farther into the future. And so this day out here, the vengeance that's pushed out further until Jesus returns. So here we have Jesus' first coming, Christmas, babe in a manger, the ministry of Jesus, his teachings, his healings, goes to the cross, dies for us, is resurrected, and gives his Spirit. So we are in the time of the Lord's favor, the time of forgiveness, the time of release from death, the time of being made new. But Jesus says that he's returning. And when Jesus returns, whenever that day is, and this is what Advent moves us to look forward to, not simply the first coming of Jesus, but to look forward to the return of Jesus. And this is when the vengeance of our God will take place. This is when he will reign completely. The fullness of his kingdom will come. The vengeance of our God will take place. There will be judgment. There will be absolute justice on the face of the earth. And so the psalm is kind of prophetic. It anticipates that day in which God will bring about full justice on the face of the earth. And so we worship the Lord, celebrating that that day will come. And we have this time where we can experience the Spirit of God, the peace of God, the grace of God, the year of the Lord's favor. And we sing and we celebrate that, but we're still dealing with sin and death and oppression. Things aren't right yet. And so we anticipate the day when God will make all things right. And that's going to mean judgment upon all the oppressors. And we will actually reign with Christ, and we will be honored to help bring about that justice with Christ. I don't know everything to do with this, but this really helps me kind of make sense of this psalm. So it's not telling me that I should be going to church and worshiping the Lord while I'm packing and, got a weapon ready to engage in warfare. I don't think that's it. I think what it's saying is, as you worship, realize that this day is coming when Christ will return and bring about full justice on the face of the earth, and we'll be able to participate with Christ in that. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, don't throw this psalm out just because that's got some stuff in it that's a little hard to understand. Just realize it's anticipating a day. It helps us with Advent, really, to anticipate a day when Christ will return and no more oppression, no more sin, no more death. And we'll get to participate in that day as we place our hope and our trust in him, and we'll reign with Christ over the face of the earth, and there'll be complete justice. So God bless, have a great day, and worship the Lord knowing that this day is coming. God bless.